Hey folks, welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris coming to you live from central Pennsylvania. Welcome Chris White Africa on Indaba Africa on Saturday, November 28th, 2020. Excited to have everybody here. Well, today we're going to talk about Africa, specifically about South Africa, and going to be a couple American oaks doing it. No South Africans in the conversation, just a couple Americans who've got an interest, a fondness for South Africa, for the Boer, for the Afrikaner, and for other South Africans. So we're going to bring our guest in here in just a moment. But you might have heard his music, certainly one of his songs, It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer. That's gained a lot of traction, a lot of popularity, quite good music. And he's done about 8 or 9 other songs related to South Africa. Pretty interesting stuff. So folks, without any further ado, let me welcome in my guest today. And this is Dean Chancy from Texas.
Colonel, thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. Well, okay, let's see. There's 2 flags back there, and I love them both. Of course, there's Old Glory, and then there's the Lone Star States flag hanging up behind you.
Yeah, there. So I don't forget where I am.
There you go. And is that a Harley or an Indian? What have you got there? I can't see. All I see is the handlebars.
Yeah. Harley Softail.
Okay, there you go. You got a saddle sitting there. You got work tools hanging from the. I'm tuning in to watch Tim, the Tool Man Taylor, right there. That's a man's band.
There you go.
Right.
It's a little shop I have, so it's a good place to sit for a video.
Yeah, it's quite lovely looking. So I don't have any Texas or Major League Rugby Texas franchise rugby jerseys. So I did the best I could for today. I've got an Arizona rugby jersey on.
Well, you know, Colonel, I wouldn't have normally I would have just worn a T-shirt.
Yeah.
But I decided drove me to wear this shirt here because I knew you were going to pop up there with some fancy rugby shirt. So this was my attempt to try to compete, to hold my own with the John Wayne shirt.
Well, that's an awesome shirt. Before we get into your music and your background, your interest in South Africa, you got a cap on there. It's a little hard to see from the camera. Is that the one that has the title of your big song there? Yeah, it sure does. It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer, Dean Chancy. All right, cool. Well, let's see. You're from Texas, and you live in Texas. So what the heck? What's with this Africa interest, and specifically South Africa? Tell us a little bit about that.
Cotton ginneries, or what they call cotton ginneries in South Africa. Cotton gins is when a farmer cuts his cotton and brings it into the cotton gin, they remove the seed from the fiber, and it becomes a cotton bale. So after I got out of the Army, the only job I could get, so I started working in a cotton gin and ended up building them. So they sent me over to South Africa in the late 80s. And I put up a cotton gin in Jan Kempdorp. And I was there probably 3 or 4 months. And I kind of just fell in love with the Boers, with the Afrikaners. It just felt like I was back home in Texas.
Well, there's a lot of similarities between Afrikaners, Boers, and, Texans in particular, but Americans in general. I'd say some of the things is love of independence, the unbridled enthusiasm, faith and family, firearms also part of that. And so far, it sounds like I'm describing Texas, doesn't it?
Well, you're exactly right. It was one of the funniest things was, while I was over there, they loaned me a bucky. So I was traveling between Jan Kempdorp and Kimberley. And of course, there was no traffic on the road. And I looked up, and of course, I was on the wrong side of the road driving. But I remember pulling off the road and getting out of the bucky, and it looked just like West Texas to me. I mean, the barbed wire fence, the windmill sitting over there, the landscape, the bushes, the grass. To me, it was just West Texas all over again. And one of the songs on the album is "It Sounds Like Texas to Me." Just a comparison between South Africa and Texas. The people, the families, the land, going to church, believing in God, just kind of everything all together just made me really feel at home when I was in South Africa.
No, absolutely. It's interesting, Dean. When I was in Botswana, people would ask me, what's Botswana like? And I said, well, have you been to Arizona? Yeah. Okay. It's Arizona with a lot less white folk. Well, I mean,
That's good.
The topography looks very similar. The environment's very similar to much of Arizona. And you've also got legitimate, not corrupt police. You're not getting shaken down for bribes. Things worked. The power worked at the time. You could go shopping. It was safe. It looked a lot. It felt a lot like living in Arizona. I mean, I've lived in Arizona a few times, so it felt a lot like Arizona to me. The only difference is that instead of about 85% white folks, it's about 9%. So it's the opposite. It's the inversion. But other than that, not much difference to me. Of course, it's in Africa, but there you go. But I could see where you see the similarities between Texas and parts of South Africa. I mean, there's parts of South Africa, like out there in Mahalisburg. It makes me feel like I'm in West Texas with canyons and those hills and such. It's quite lovely, and same sort of environment with the rainfall and the vegetation. It's very similar.
You know, I've traveled a little bit, not as much as you, I'm sure, but you know, you can go to a beautiful country, and if you can't identify with the inhabitants and the people living there, then it's just another landscape.
Yeah.
But what made South Africa so endearing to me was the you know, a lot of the background. You know, I don't think that Italians are so much different than Dutch or anything like that. You know, I mean, I don't think that exactly determines someone, but there were a lot of Dutch folks there, and half of my family is Dutch and Irish, and I mean, I just identified with all the things that they identified with. Going to church on Sunday, thanking God for your blessings, you know, carrying a pistol around. You know, of course, everybody carries a pistol in Texas now. Well, you know, they have open carry now, so you can carry it open if you're just want everybody to see because you're that kind of guy, or you can put it under your shirt, you know. So we have open carry and just a whole lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Leon Prentice says he looks like Charles Bronson.
right before he died.
Oh, well, that's
the old Charles Bronson, just before he kicked over.
I don't know if he looked up, but she said he looked like Charles Bronson. I think the mustache plays a big role there, but that was cute. And then who was it? Somebody just told me, oh yeah, Corona's boring. Do the alien thing. Says Francistown looks nothing like Arizona. Yeah, but Juaneng looks exactly like Arizona. Juaneng looks exactly like Arizona. So parts of the country. So you went over there. You you know, the last thing I would have thought of is South African cotton. That's interesting. But you went over there because of cotton. Of course, you know, for a lot of folks that don't know the history of the cotton gin, Eli Whitney created or invented that, if I'm not mistaken, the cotton gin. And prior to the invention of the cotton gin, slavery wasn't particularly profitable. It's certainly large-scale industrial slavery. It was when the cotton gin came along that could pick the seeds out much more effectively and efficiently that it made slavery in the South actually economically viable. And so it grew massively as an institution with the introduction. The irony of industrialization leading to slavery. It's but anyway, that's part of history. But the cotton gin has been around for a long time in various versions, quite successful. So that's what got you to South Africa. How long did you stick in the cotton business, or was that just a one-off?
No, then I went over there again. But I have learned one thing with watching a little bit of your shows, Colonel, is don't compete with Colonel Wyatt on history. So, yeah, so Eli Whitney, you're right. And then I went over there again in almost the 90s, like 89 again, to put some more cotton gin machinery in. So that was twice. And then I came to one of those cruxes in my life, or crosses in the road, and ended up getting divorced. And I said to myself, where should I go? Let me see. Let me go to South Africa. so I this was in 91. So off I went to South Africa again, and to see my friends that I had met before, and met a lot more friends. And I ended up staying there a year. Of course, I had a 3-month visa, and you know, it was. I hate to say I was a bum, but that's the closest thing I can think of. You know, so I stayed at different. Of course, you know how the Boer and the Afrikaners are. Come stay at my house. You know, come stay at my house. So I had a place to live, different houses for. Maybe I could call myself a hippie, but I didn't have long hair and a beard. You know. So, but anyway, I was over there, and you know, everybody it was like being there the first and the second, now the third time. And everyone just took me in. Everyone just, you know, there's one of my songs that goes, wherever I went, folks just loved on me, you know, and that was so true. So I stayed over there for a year. When I finally ended up coming back home to run my dad's business, when I got to the airport, the guy looked at my passport and he says, well, you're about 9 months late. He said, but here you go, you know, since I was leaving. So a friend of mine even told me that they called their house later and said, have you seen this guy? You know, and he said, no, he already left. But so that was my last trip to South Africa before I went back again, you know. So that I sang a little bit while I was there. There was a a show called Sounds Country, and I was on that show singing another song that I had written called God Bless the IRS, the RSA. So no, every time I've gone to South Africa, it's been an experience that I wouldn't give up for the world. It's not like when you go back again, someplace you're let down. You know, when I go back again to South Africa, I'm never let down. It's just a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, I'd say the same, but it's a place where increasingly I have to keep my spidey sense about me, unfortunately, because it's become increasingly dangerous, but still an amazingly beautiful place. But listen, you started to say you wrote a song about God Bless the IRS. I almost canceled the stream right there. I mean, you mean RSA. that was almost the end of the stream. God Bless the IRS. It was fighting words, son. It was fighting words. But seriously, Johan Eisel's in the stream. Johan's a music manager and promoter in South Africa, and of course, South Africa's premier illusionist, who once made the four-tracker monument disappear, but it came right back. So it was just a trick. It was a trick. But Johan's here. He says, remember I sent you a song a few months ago? Yeah, Johan, but the version you sent me wasn't very clear. I'm like, this is horrible. This guy can't sing for beans. And then so I wasn't in a rush to get him on the channel. And then the Conscious Caracal kept needling me. Oh, you got to get him on. You got to get him on. And I like the Conscious Caracal, so I listened, and I reached out and took a risk. And then Dean sent me his song on a clear track, and I was like, yeah, this rocks. This is awesome, because the only time I've heard it before was it was kind of scratchy and not particularly good. So I think I saw you perform it live once. I don't know. It might have been on another channel, but anyway. But when I heard the clear, I'm like, yeah, this is good music. Anyway, so Johan, yes, it is the guy. That's Dean Chancy right there from Houston, Texas. He's on the channel. And speaking of which, hey, Dean, I don't know if you sing any Christmas songs, but we're cooking up a Christmas program at Chris White Africa. And right now, the plan is by the way, my Santa suit arrived last night. So today's stream later, people get a sneak peek at the St. Nicholas outfit that I'll have on. But for the Night Owls edition today, you'll get to watch that if you tune in. And anyway, but we're going to have on this Christmas special, we'll do it once for sure. We might do it once or twice. We'll see. But we'll have Marlaise, the young lady from Namibia, who was that famous video where she ran into a rugby post trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. It was a viral hit. She'll be on there as like Santa's helper or an elf. I'll be playing the role of St. Nicholas, Santa Claus. And Giselle will come on and sing some Christmas carols. And I don't know if you're interested, maybe we get you to pop on there. I'm also going to ask Monty Jackson if he wants to come on and sing a song or two. So it might just be a wonderful little, get a bunch of musicians together on Christmas and do something for the kids. If you're interested, not to put you on the spot, I'll just throw it out there.
I'm always interested to sing a song. And, you know, maybe Johan was trying to make me disappear with that music he sent you.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. He's the one I mentioned to you that maybe when you're in South Africa again, if we've got Giselle out at a performance or another artist he's got out there, maybe we can get you to pop in, at least sing It Ain't Easy to Be a Boer or something like that. So.
Well, you know, the whole purpose of me writing these songs was, you know, for any of the folks out there that have kids, they know that, you know, if you're raising kids and you're even trying, you don't have anything to do, you know, except raise kids for 20 years. Well, once my kids got grown off in college, I started watching YouTube and I started off with Willem Petzer. Mm-hmm. to kind of learn what was going on, because I would type something in farmers and up would pop Willem, you know. So I started by watching his videos and we became friends. And then I started, of course, I saw Zuma trying to count and singing It Ain't Easy to Kill the Boer, or he started singing Kill the Boer. So I started thinking about that, and I thought to myself, that's kind of the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know, they're not that easy to kill, you know. And well, so that's where they
don't go away either. They just keep coming back. They're like the Energizer Bunny.
You know, they're like a ever-ready boar on, you know, the ever-ready bunny. You know, they just don't stop. And so I started writing that song, It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer, and a couple other songs. And it's funny, you know, how God works. Of course, a lot of people blame everything on God, especially if it's something they want to do. In my case, God has always wanted me to do something I don't want to do, so I knew that was God. You know, a whole Bible full of people doing things they don't want to do. You know, and but anyway, in this case, I'd finished a couple songs, and I thought they were finished, and two Afrikaners that I hadn't seen in must be 6 years showed up at my door at my business to do some work for them, and I said to them, actually, Deneen, Janine, and Dion, and they showed up at the door, and I said, you guys mind coming back and listening to a couple songs? And so they came back and listened to a couple songs. And it's funny, Dion said, he said, you need to come up to the Poiki Festival that we're having this year here in, it was in September, so September of last year. You need to come up to the Poiki Festival up here in northern Houston. So I ended up going up there, and also I ended up meeting Adam Toss, a nice guy. And so that was kind of where my journey started. And so I was, at the same time, I knew what my friends in South Africa were thinking about the whole situation. So my idea behind writing the songs was to try to be an empath for the things that they were going through, for the things I was hearing from them. You know, and a South African songwriter, he said, Dean, he said, you are writing and singing the songs that I could write, but I wouldn't be able to sing. Mm-hmm. I wish that I could write them and be able to sing them. So that's been the whole idea behind my songs, is to take these songs and kind of be an empath, just like a good dog, you know, a good puppy dog that knows where you're going before you get there, you know, kind of a thing. Be a good empath, try to be an empath for these songs, and trying to express what my friends may not be able to say because they couldn't write a country song, you know. Or anybody can write a country song, but they might not be able to write a country song unless
I can write a country song. I shot my dog and I slept with my cousin last night. There's a country song right there.
And married her. You know, that's a country song. You're right. So anybody, don't be afraid. Right? If you know, Dean can write a country song, you all can write a country song. So I started writing these country songs to try to say what my friends, I felt like they were thinking and what they were going through in the situation over there in South Africa. But more than that, I wanted to remind them who they were. I wanted to remind them where they came from. I wanted to write, you know, because, you know, it's funny over here. Sometimes you can get beat up so much by maybe like the news over here. You get beat up by people telling you things that you find kind of sometimes forget. You know, in my life, I've kind of forgotten who I was. And I wanted to remind my Boer friends, you know, my Afrikaner friends that nobody can stop a Boer when a Boer makes a plan, you know, that they have a wonderful history, that God is still on their side, that there's lots of to look forward, you know, that he's trustworthy, that they're honest, they're sincere, they're God-fearing, you know, they're family loving, you know, they're just so many wonderful things about the Boer that's good. And that was my point of continue to write these songs, is to try to uplift my friends.
No, absolutely. And the songs are pretty amazing. But I have a quick question for you that's related to your song, because I played a few days back, I played It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer, and I was talking over it, kind of played it in the background, and I got hit with a copyright claim. Do you have a service scanning the net for your music, or did they make a mistake? Or I was like, oh, what? I wasn't expecting that.
So basically so that's a whole story there. I remember John Mellencamp, you know, who wrote The Little Pink Houses. Yeah. He was the first one to sound the warning for songwriters. And so what has happened now is big tech. Basically, you can't, if you register a song, you could keep them all and sell them on a CD. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to let people listen to them, you have to put them on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, you know, and so that's what happens to them. They get out there and you make a penny every time someone plays it somewhere in the U-verse, you know. Right. So I had to basically do that, but you're more than welcome to play my songs however we can get around that, you know, or get you permission to do that. So
your song is registered then. Okay, I wasn't sure. So that's
have to do that if you're going to make a little album out of it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just want to make sure because I was surprised. There's other music that I play that it isn't necessarily registered, but of course I have from Johan and from Giselle, you know, carte blanche permission to promote her music, and I start my straight voltage streams with one of her songs and usually play another one. And I have their copyright approval, but every time I play it, CD Now, which is the third-party software thing, comes up and says copyright claim. So when they started doing that to me back in June, I would respond and say, no, I have the artist's permission. Here's the information. That's the name of the appeal. And a couple of times they approved it and just let it go. And then after, it's like a computer's doing it because they weren't paying attention. After a week or so of that, then they just started saying, no, you can't do this. And so I had to delete that from all of my streams every time, which is really annoying. But I appreciate they're trying to protect artists' original content. I'm all for that. I don't like to pirate things. I try to only play things with people's permission. But if you have someone's permission, there ought to be a mechanism to let you play it without getting in trouble. But the YouTube mechanism sucks. It doesn't allow you to put attachments like a letter authorizing or a certification or something like that. So it's just very frustrating. But no, I was just curious because I was going to play that at the beginning of the show, and I'm like, well, it's not a video, it's just the audio, and I got in trouble playing the audio. I better wait and not do that. So I didn't play it to start the show off.
Well, one thing I would mention,
Yeah.
I haven't brought myself a sign here. If anyone would like the music, they can go to deanssongs.com.
Yeah.
And they can also, so when they go to Dean Songs, they'll be able to click any one of the arrows to listen to the songs.
Uh-huh.
There's no charge on it. And if they want me to send them the songs on their WhatsApp, they can get in touch with me on Facebook, and I'll send them the songs on WhatsApp. The other thing, if they can't remember any of that, just look up "It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer" on Google, and it'll take them to the website.
Okay, didn't realize we had that website. Oh, there we go. That's a cool photo. I think that's the one I used for the stream. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick here. Just a second. I think I've got it, so we can see your website on the screen there. Now it's overlaying both of us now. So there, Dean Chancy, right there, sitting in the studio. Dean Songs. Okay, there you go, folks. Dean Songs, right there. Check it out. There you go. Black Monday album includes Black Monday, Mr. President, the Children, Ekes Liefjal. I know why the diet's so red. That's interesting. It sounds like Texas to me.
Yeah,
and,
I know why the dirt's so red.
Yeah. Oh, dirt. Okay, it's a typo. I was like, what the heck? I know why the dirt's so red. Ooh, that red Texas red soil maybe. Or we're talking about blood here in this case for the Boer. You don't keep messing around with the Boer, and glory, glory, hallelujah. There you go. Pretty cool. So there it is, folks. That's Dean's Songs, Dean Chancy. You can find that online at that spot. Hendo, if you could stick the URL in there, I think people can figure it out, but just in case anyway. So yeah, pretty cool. Olaf says, thank you, Dean. You're like Chris, inspiring us and keeping us going, fighting the good fight, staying alive and keeping the faith. That's from Olaf. Wow, that's pretty nice of him. Thanks, Olaf.
Thank you.
And then, I'm sorry. This is this is related to Giselle. Olaf was trying to get Giselle's CD early in the year. COVID struck. They said they'll send the CDs after lockdown. Want to know when it'll happen? Got it. Oh, okay. Well, if you order the CDs from Johan, Olaf, and you haven't gotten them from Johan, send the guy CDs. Come on, man. Now, if it's from a store, I have to be like Joe Biden. Come on, man. Come on. You know, the thing, the CDs. Why didn't you mail them? Anyway. Dean. Johan says, I want to produce a music video for your Boer song here in South Africa.
Oh, nice. Sounds like a wonderful idea. The more the music can get out there, so as a songwriter, you try to write something that's going to touch someone. So I especially want to say thank you for all the people that have emailed me and said I was riding in my car. I heard your song and I started crying. Now, for a songwriter, I can go ahead and die now, because I have done what I've always wanted to do my whole life, is to write a song that touched someone in their heart. So thank you, all the folks. Thank you, everyone that has written me to let me know how much the song touched you, because that means the world to me. Because I wrote the songs for my friends, the Boers and the Afrikaners. I didn't write a song so I could sit in my closet and sing it. I have written a few of those songs, but for the most part, these songs are written for and about the people that I love and care about.
Oh, it's awesome. But listen, hey, Dean, don't be in a rush, man. I mean, listen, if Joe Biden gets 144 years to live, I think the rest of us should get over 100,
That's exactly right. All right. If you can guarantee that, I'm good with that.
Well, if we all moved to Soviet Georgia, remember when I was a kid, those Yoplait commercials for Yoplait yogurt, they would go to the Soviet Union. I don't know why. And they, look, it's Rajna Krishniki from Georgia. She's 112 years old and she eats Yoplait. Like, I'm not eating that nasty stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember back in the day, there were a couple of Russians that were 122 and the son was 107 or 104 or something like that. And they're still riding horses. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, that's something, riding horses. I mean, I haven't ridden a horse in a couple of years. And last time I rode, I'm like, I'm not 18 anymore. I'm enjoying this, but it's not like when I was 18. I just hop on a horse and just go for a couple hours. But these days, after about 30, 45 minutes on a horse, I'm like, okay, it's time to head back to the corral.
Talking about a horse, when I was about 13, I was in trouble all the time. I won't say about what. You can just imagine. So my dad decided he was going to send me. My parents were missionaries in Mexico. So my father decided he was going to send me to my cousin's ranch in Durango, Mexico. And so off I went on the bus for 13 hours all the way across Mexico. And I ended up in a working there at my cousin's ranch. We'd get up every morning and milk cows. And then it was the bus ride to school and walk a mile to the road, all that kind of stuff. And there was an American, a Texan down there, and he had 30,000 acres and he was raising cattle down in Mexico. And so he found out that I was a young man by myself, and he had 3 little girls. And he said to my cousin, he says, Dean, he let Dean come over and pick out a horse. So he had a whole Bermuda of horses up in the mountains, and he brought them down, put them in the corral. And I went over there and sat on the corral, the edge of the corral, and picked out a little filly. And from there, I broke her and raised her. And you said something about my grandpa's saddle. So I figured I had her broke and everything. And so I took my grandpa's saddle and I put my grandpa's saddle on a little mare by this time. And I climbed up on my grandpa's saddle and she bucked me right off. So you were talking about getting bucked off in horses. And that's actually my grandpa's saddle. So it's over 100 years old. And of course, it's not any good except for just sitting there. But he was a cowboy, and he was a wonderful person. He could train anything, a dog, a horse, just one of those kinds of guys, So that was my latest horse story.
Well, there's always interesting horse stories. A very short, brief one. Try to keep it G-rated and not get too far. But we had it's not a Shetland pony, but something like a Shetland pony. It was a sort of pony. But anyway, we had a Morgan horse mare that was the quarter horse mare. Apparently, she was in heat. She was in the barn eating hay, and I had taken this hard-headed pony out and was trying to ride him. And I don't know, the wind blew and turned us a different direction, and his nostrils just flared. And he's like, and he just turned around and bolted. And I was on the back of him riding, and this was without a saddle because I didn't put a saddle on him. So I did have a bit in his mouth. I'm holding on to the bit and onto his mane, and he's just taking off, and he's just sprinting back up. We were down by the wood line, up across the field where our jerseys and Guernseys would graze, into the barn. And he's like a third of her size, and he tries to mount her from behind. And I'm on his back. I'm like, okay, that's enough for me. And I just slid right off the back. I'm like, okay. And I walked away. I'm just standing there looking like, dude, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. But anyway, no, it's my sort of G/R-rated horse story.
Yeah, anybody that's been around a farm or horses or donkeys, or ponies, they have one of those stories. So, yeah, but it's like. When I was out in Jan Kempdorp, everybody would take me out to their farms, and I would go have a braai. So, and everybody had a horse, everybody had something. Thank God I didn't ride any. I didn't need any more adventures by that time. But that's one of the things that endeared me so much to the Boer and the Afrikaner. I should say, I was endeared to them. They were endeared to me because we had so much in common. All those stories, all those things you think about growing up. I wrote, there's a song on one of the albums. It's my mom, she calls the song Vix, but that's not the name of it. If I get my out thing here, I can remember. Sometimes I write so many songs, I forget about them. It's a song about being raised and all the things that happened when I was a young man. When I was a kid, for example, my cousins would grab a hold of the electric fence, and they would grab the last cousin, and it always shocks the last person on the line, And then we would shoot anything and everything with our BB guns. So it's about my cousins had a little farm, but next door they had some bulls, and so of course we decided we were going to shoot the bulls in their balls. So we began to shoot the bulls in their balls and how you can see the BB. When the BB leaves, it goes like this. You can see it out the end of the BB gun. Yeah. And it would hit the bull. They would all go like that and shake their legs. And we would laugh. And so when my uncle got home, he took us, of course, he found out what we were doing. And he took us one by one. We stood out in the hall, and he took a razor strap, the old razor strap, and brought us each into the bathroom one at a time and gave us a good whooping for what we were doing.
Well, and then you got what you deserved, and then some.
We got, but though I don't think the bulls felt sorry for us, but we sure got what we deserved. And then my grandma, she would, and you're probably too young for this, Colonel, but my grandma, whenever you would get a cold, the first thing she would do is take Vicks and lather your chest with it.
Oh,
But my grandma had been one of my grandmas had been a pastor, and the other one had just been a grandma. But both of them, were just about as tall as they were wide, and they were just tough. And so she would not only put Vicks on your chest, she would put Vicks down your throat. So
what?
And so yeah, just a little dab down your throat. And so my cousins, I talked to them, and they had all got the same treatment. And kind of the way the song goes is Grandma stuck Vicks down my throat, then she followed it up with cod liver oil. Don't know how I made it through that winter alive. She was quicker than a rattlesnake. She grabbed my ear, and I can hear her say, "So I'm gonna twist this thing off if you don't learn to obey." Times were tough back then. I remember them days of innocence. I thought they'd never end. The bulls by the barn, they sure could run when we shot them in their business with our BB guns. But that was nothing compared to our whoopings when my uncle got home. Times were tough back then. I remember them days of innocence. Thought they'd never end. So that song is called "Times Were Good Back Then," and there's a couple, and these are all true stories. I think everybody has them. True stories that happened in my life. And my grandma was short. Yeah. I had one grandma who was barely 5 foot, and the other one, one grandpa was 5'6", the other one was 6'3". So we called them Big Grandma and Grandpa and Little Grandma and Grandpa. And the little grandma would grab you by your ear. The pastor, the preacher, she would grab you by your ear, and you couldn't knock her off of it because she was your grandma, and she would just twist your ear, and it would throb her day. That's why I said she's quicker than a rattlesnake, because she would just reach out there and just snatch that ear up, and yeah. And then, so it's all the kind of things that happened to me in my life growing up, and they happened, and we would ride anything. If we could get a horse, that was the best, or a Shetland pony. I was telling you about the uncle that beat me, my uncle that, well, he didn't beat us. He gave us a good whooping, and all of us. Well, he, the reason I have to call you Colonel is because I just doesn't, 3 years of the Army, it's not going to, I just can't make myself call you, Chris, So my uncle had been in the 82nd Airborne, yep. And he had won the Silver Star. And an interesting story about him. He was an E6, but he got out of the Army a buck private.
He got in trouble.
Yeah, just to tell you how he was. So he's lying in the hospital in Europe. Yep. Because he had been a forward observer and he got shelled. So he's lying in a hospital in Europe. And a colonel comes into the hospital ward, mm-hmm. And he had probably a butter bar for a lieutenant with him. And the lieutenant calls everyone to attention. And so all these guys are trying to struggle up out of their beds to come to attention. So my uncle gets out of his bed and knocks the colonel down, for allowing him to be called. So that's why he got out a buck private. So he was my hero. And so when I went in, I went into the 82nd Airborne. Mm-hmm. And so my uncle, when he got out of the Army, he didn't have anything to do, but he was a quarter Blackfoot Indian. Mm-hmm. And he'd always been around horses. So he started going up in the mountains of Oregon and catching wild horses and bringing them down and training them and putting them in the Army. So he had a horse and that he had caught in the mountains, one of his favorites, and he called it Black. And so this horse, we would always get on it and ride it. And we would get as many cousins as we could get on it, and we could get up to 5. Wow. Because, we're 10, 8, 6 years old. So we're little. So we would now this is a wild horse that had been tamed by my uncle. We'd get him up the corral and we would all get on him. And the only one that had any secure purchase was the one up front with the mane, And so all the four cousins would be behind grabbing on the first one. And Black, he would ride us around for about until he got tired. And then when he got tired, he would just sidestep, and all of us would boom, 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 right off on the ground. So we would ride anything. So we were used to riding my uncle's horse. So the last verse in the song about my grandpa had pigs, but we would ride anything, you know. And so the last verse in the song goes, I remember the start of my cowboy days when I caught Grandpa's pig up by the hay, jumped on his back when he tried to get away. And I rode Grandpa's pig down that hill, holding on to his ears like Buffalo Bill, riding the range under that golden sky. Things were good back then, you know. So it's all adventures growing up, so similar to the folks over in South Africa that I've met. You know, the same stories. You know where they're going as soon as they start telling them. You know what they're gonna, because you've been there. So that's another reason I identified so much with the Boer and the Afrikaner.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. It's hilarious. And that brings back memories because I had pigs as well. And you do ride pigs at times, particularly when you're trying to get them from one place to another and they're being stubborn. It's one way to get them moving. Folks, you're listening to the Saturday stream here on Chris White Africa on the Daba Africa channel. My special feature guest today is none other than Dean Chancy, a Texan who has a fondness for South Africa, for the Boer, for Afrikaners, and he's quite a talented musician there. You've heard just a little bit of just making songs. I'm telling you, I'm thinking the people that do pop and rock must be really frustrated because they probably have to put a couple minutes thought into your songs, into their songwriting. But it looks like a country musician, man. You just start talking about life, you know. This is what I did today, and next thing you know, it's a country music song, and you got a hit. It's pretty crazy there, but awesome stuff. Now, I just got a little bit of housekeeping real quick, Dean. Calman said about 10 minutes ago, he said, hey, thank you, Dean. Your song really moved me and gives me strength as a South African farmer that's had my whole family destroyed by crime. It reminds me of my strength to carry on. Well, God bless you, Calman. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Dean for that inspiring you. Beaver says hello to me and to the mods and to Dean as well. I'm sure Desmond Peter Mateus said hello twice. Thinks I'm ignoring him, but no, Peter or Desmond, I'm just getting the comments from 12 minutes ago right now because Dean's been playing some pretty cool songs, so we hadn't had a chance to catch up. But anyway, thanks everybody for the chat, for joining us today. We're enjoying it. My special feature guest is Dean Chancy, as I said, a Texan who's lived in South Africa for a few different times for short periods and has a special affinity for it. Also, earlier, Erica said, let me find this comment from Erica if it's still here. She said she's really moved that two non-South Africans have such a deep affection. Oh, here he is. It really, really touches me. People with absolutely no ties to South Africa, no family, no history, nothing, like Chris and Dean, develop a love for South Africa and her people. Well, that's very kind of you, Erica, but I think Dean and I would both say it's probably because South Africans and Americans have a lot in common, and that's probably why we share this affinity. Would you agree with that, Dean?
100%. And I wouldn't, people say thank you, but I would just say thank you to them because the South Africans have given much more back to me than I ever gave to them. So the thank you to each and every person that has enjoyed the songs or given me a free meal, invited me to a braai, given me a drink, so you guys are the heroes in my book.
I just very quickly changed the subject just for a second there, but looking at the flags on your back wall, it reminds me of a story when I was in Liberia and President Bush visited. It was his last visit in Africa. He did 7 countries on that tour, and Liberia was his last stop. This is George W. Bush, of course, from Texas, a former general manager for the Texas Rangers Baseball Club, former governor of Texas, and president of the United States, but number 43, if I recall correctly. But George W. was in Liberia, and he was giving a speech, and he turned to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the president, and said, Madam President, he says, I have to thank you for the warm welcome here. I really feel I'm at home. I feel like I'm back in Texas. And the crowd just kind of went quiet for a second. He goes, I'm looking here, and I see your flag with a single star on it, and I, too, am from a Lone Star Republic. It was a great moment. It was really put the crowd at ease. It was hilarious because Liberia has a single star on their flag. So just like Texas is a Lone Star. It was pretty. It really, it wasn't there was any tension, but it's the president of the United States. It's a big event. America's done so much for Liberia. All these people were excited, and it's all quiet and hushed. And then he tells that, and the whole place broke into raucous laughter. Texans have an interesting sense of humor, kind of like the Boer and Afrikaner. They have an interesting sense of humor too.
Very, very similar. Just to tell you another little story about it ain't easy to kill a Boer. I did an interview with an SABC reporter, and I didn't feel as bad as the elderly gentleman at the squatter camp. There were all the got you questions that the SABC reporter asked them. But at the end of the interview, the lady, she asked me, she said, "I understand that you've written a song. Someone was singing 'Kill the Boer,' and you wrote a song answering that. You wrote a song about that." And I said to the lady, I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, because the reason I wrote the song was because here at work, there's black people here, there's Mexican people here, and there's white people here. And no one is singing "Kill the Mexican," and the Mexicans aren't singing "Kill the black person." And so I said, if someone in South Africa had been singing "Kill the Zulu," or "Kill the Swana," or "Kill the whatever different tribe are there, I said I might have written a song about that. But they were singing a song "Kill the Boer." I said so it was there was an answer to what they were singing. So they're just the Afrikaner and the Boer are an amazing people to me. And if I could be Ernst Van Zyl with the Conscious Caracal, he said, "Dean," he says, "you're the only person I've ever had that answered a question with a song." But talking about that, my plans are to write one more album. That way I'll have 3 of them. I'm busy writing it now. So when I come over, I'll have plenty of songs to sing. The problem is I'll start writing these songs, and if I'm not careful, I'll forget the ones that I'm supposed to know already, But, I just admire the Boer. I know, Colonel, I'm sure you know this. Yeah. There was an American general that said, "Give me so many Englishmen and I'll do this, and give me somebody else and I'll do this, but give me a bunch of Boers." Do you know what that general said? That he said, "Give me 2,000 Boers and I'll take over the Europe," or something like that. You remember that saying?
I've heard that phrase before, but I'm drawing a blank on who that was. I don't recall off the top of my head. But
so to me, I just admire the Afrikaners and the Boers, and I wish there was a word that included Afri-Boer or Boer-Kaner, so everybody could be that together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but anyway, that's another song there. But I was writing this song about. See if I can remember it. I've been thinking about the great trek, diamonds and gold, battles and warriors, stories I've been told, heroes and legends, mighty men of old. If I could go back then, I'd want to be a Boer. I'd want to climb up on a wagon with Lewis and Hans, make a plan, make a stand like Victorious, and save all my friends. Ride out like De La Rey, never quit just like David. Find Uncle Paul, shake his hand, tell him he was right, head up to the border. Join my brothers in the fight. I'd do that and so much more if I was a Boer. So that's a song I hope to be on the next. Well, that's part of the song. It's more than halfway finished. But in my mind, folks can be proud that they're Boers and Afrikaners because they have a rich history. They built a nation from nothing. They built a nation out of nothing. And then with the, in that song, "No More," that you said that you liked, it just does talk about how the farmers just arrived there. There was no water. There was absolutely nothing, left, and they built something from nothing. That's an accomplishment. That a serious accomplishment when you build a nation in the middle of Africa.
There's a message here from Pete Erwey. He says, "I'm a proud owner of a signed copy of It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer CD. Thanks, Dean. It was great meeting you and Josh." Well, that's pretty cool. Don't know if you remember
Or what?
Pete Ervy. And then Erica says, thank you, Dean, for responding to Kill the Boer with a song of encouragement. And then Felix said, Jim Reeves of Texas was a great friend of the Afrikaner people. Several songs were sung in the Afrikaner language. Yeah, speaking of Jim Reeves, I was talking to Monty Jackson, and Monty and I were talking and passing notes back and forth, each other voice notes, and he was talking about Jim Reeves. He's a big fan. Monty Jackson's also a big fan of Jim Reeves, and Slim Whitman. And Monty Jackson is one of the most amazing music collections of country music and Afrikaans music, classical stuff, the old era, that anyone could possibly have. Monty Jackson, folks, for you country music fans, we're in discussions about him coming on the channel. It looks like he'll be on the channel soon, maybe next week, maybe a little bit after that, but that would be pretty cool for those who are Monty Jackson fans. He's awesome. I had no idea he won nearly as many awards as he had. He's won like 50 different awards for his music. This is a guy that spent a dozen years singing in pubs before anybody even noticed who he was, and then suddenly became a sensation. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, for you country music fans, it won't just be Dean with his country music on the channel. Even though I'm well known as not a big aficionado of country music, I do have parts of it I like. No, but see, for me, Dean, country music to me was my mom playing those Patsy Cline songs. It just used to drive me nuts when I was a kid. That was country music. Then Alabama came along, and I was like, okay, I like this. Alabama's good. Oak Ridge Boys were good. I like the Oak Ridge Boys. Yeah, and then Shania Twain comes along, more kind of a pop country. So, I mean, when I say I'm not really a country music fan, I guess that's sort of a lie in some respects, because there's certainly a lot of artists that I do like. A huge Johnny Cash fan. I actually got to see Johnny Cash at the Ohio State Fair in 1981. One of those memories I'll never forget, and very significant for me. He was amazing. 1981 Ohio State Fair, Columbus, Ohio. June Carter Cash was on stage with him along with his daughter, and all I can say about Johnny Cash is, man, what a presence! What a presence! Just something else. Musicians can really have a stage presence and leave an impression on you, indelible.
You're talking about Jim Reeves. When I got out of the Army, I grew a beard like yours, not as nice as yours, but I grew a beard, and I had a motorcycle, so I got on my motorcycle, and I decided I was going to drive down to South America on my motorcycle. So off I go on my motorcycle, and I ended up, one of the places I ended up visiting a friend I had been in the Army with, and he was in a place called Bluefields, Nicaragua. So I finally got all the way out there. I had to put my bike on a boat, and off we went to the little island, Bluefields, which is kind of a little island. And of course, we were hanging out in the wrong places. We were in a bar, and someone puts a quarter in, and they start playing the music, and it's Jim Reeves. So Jim Reeves is just everywhere. Of course, I was so dumb that I didn't realize that you couldn't get past the Darien Gap between Panama and Colombia. So I got as far as Panama on my motorcycle, and I ended up having to leaving it there and got to Colombia a different way. But Jim Reeves is down there everywhere. You would never think he was so popular, but he's a wonderful singer.
Well, if only his life hadn't been cut so tragically short in a plane crash at the age of 40. In fact, he was in South Africa just a year before he died. He was in that movie, Kimberly Jim or Kimberly Jack? Kimberly Jim. Kimberly Jim was the movie he was in, and he sang one of the songs in Afrikaans, and he was hugely popular. He was more popular than Elvis Presley in 1963. That's saying something in South Africa. He was huge. So it's really unfortunate that Jim Reeves passed away so early in that. And this was his own plane, of course, but excuse me, very sad. But imagine what would have transpired and developed over the years if he'd been alive for another 20 or 30 years. Would have been truly amazing. The body of work he would have put together beyond that. Now, quite a legend in Texas music, country music, Jim Reeves. So respect.
Well, country music has changed a lot. It used to just all be about cheating and getting drunk and very, very depressing.
So you're saying it was about life.
Yeah, but it was about the worst part of life. It wasn't about the positive part of life. For some reason, maybe it had to do with what the guys were writing and singing, because that's the life they were living. But there's a lot more positive country music now. And of course, country music has almost gone pop now, but there's still, excuse me, with the internet and with different ways to be able to get your music out there, there is still a huge resurgence or a huge steady popularity of good country music with stories behind them. Not to be, and I think, there's a lot of uplifting stuff. Shania Twain, like you were talking about, she sang a lot of stuff that was very uplifting. And people, life can be depressing enough. That's one of the reasons why now I do have some depressing songs. I'm just not putting them on any of the albums, because who wants to hear a depressing song? I mean, sometimes they're good, but when you're real depressed, but most of the time, I like to be lifted up by the music I listen to.
Now, people are asking me to ask you to play It Ain't Easy Kill a Boer, and I'm going to save that for the end of the stream because I'm going to have to cut it out probably. So, but we'll save that for a little bit later. No, it is nice when things are uplifting. What's the I can't think of her name right now. You probably know her name. She sings Christian gospel, but kind of pop. She was big in the '90s. I can't think of her name right now. Drawing a blank, but the kind of stuff is nice to hear for a change. And Shania Twain's music, I really enjoyed Shania Twain. It is good when you don't have to focus on depressing sorts of things, and I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't like country music too much when I was a kid. Not just that my mom was playing it all the time, but also a lot of it was really depressing. Dolly Parton came along; she had some upbeat songs. That was kind of interesting to hear her sing. I'm not a major fan of Dolly Parton, but a lot of respect for her as a businesswoman, as a musician, as a performer, and just as a little dynamo. She's still going strong. It's awesome. It's amazing, Dolly Parton. But country music has a different vibe altogether of its own. It's funny because when I was a young enlisted soldier in Germany, the Germans like country music. I'm like, what? I had no idea. Germans, they love country music. I had no idea. It's fascinating. They even had a little place called the Dixie, a bar down by the Army Airfield. And it was right next to a German nightclub. And I used to go to the nightclub. And then my friends, most of them who were country music fans, would be next door. And so when I finished at the German side, I'd walk over and the place would be full of Germans and Americans. But, it's amazing the appeal of country music around the world. To me as a kid, I had no idea that people outside of dirt poor places where I lived actually listen to country music. But it's quite popular all over. Even in the UK, people love country music. Interesting stuff.
Sure. Now, my question would be Shania Twain, she had such happy stuff, but she had like bad stuff happen to her with her husband, So are the people that sing in the real sad stuff, do they have happy stuff happen to them?
Well, it is a fair question. You got to wonder. Though. So you've been singing, it sounds like, your entire adult life.
So I was I was in the Army with a guy named Tommy Saxon, in the 82nd Airborne, and Tommy, I'm sure you've heard of this story. So Tommy had been caught moonshining. So the judge said to him, "This is your choice, jail or the Army." And so Tommy chose the Army. And that happened to a lot of people. Young people that get in trouble, the judge would give them that choice back then in the day. And so Tommy ended up in the 82nd Airborne with me. And Tommy could play the guitar. He's from South Carolina. He could play the guitar and he could sing. And I'm just 17 years old, 18 years old. So I said to Tommy, Tommy, teach me how to play, teach me how to play and sing, I want to play country music. And he said, well, he was one of those fellows that wasn't interested in helping anybody do anything, right? But he gave me the best advice of my life in music. He said, just learn, just pick up that guitar and learn how to do it. You can do it yourself, And so I picked up the guitar and I started playing, and then that was good advice. So sometimes, you can get good advice from a donkey, and like in the Bible, where the donkey spoke to the prophet, you can get good advice from a donkey. So that's how when I started playing, I've been writing songs ever since then, or I should say, trying to write songs, and some I've actually finished and completed. So.
That's no doubt about it. Listen, Ron von Ryman, who's in the Netherlands, Dean, he asked if you could show off your Harley. Any chance you could step back and just show it off and tell people about it, when you got it, a little bit about it there?
Well, it's a soft tail here.
Whoa, that thing is big.
Not that big, but... Yeah, so if you remember, I told you that story, how I had gotten on my motorcycle and headed down to South America. Well, your kids, you have to be careful what they pick up on. So when I got back from South America, I chopped my bike. I turned it into a chopper. And I have one picture of me on my chopper sitting in the front yard. Well, my son saw that. And so he's 23 years old now. And so he got out of college. So he's chopping. He had to get a motorcycle too. And so I wasn't especially thrilled about getting a motorcycle at my age, but I'm going, okay, maybe I can keep him alive if I get a motorcycle too. So I got a motorcycle too. And last year we had plans to go to South Africa and take our bikes. But after a little bit of and his bike is being chopped now. So as I wanted to get these motorcycles, get on the motorcycles. I told my son, I always talked about South Africa. So I told my son, I said, when you get out of college, we'll go to South Africa and ride bikes. So I wanted to take the bikes over, but I found out it was much too expensive to take them over. And then when they wouldn't let them in the country, on and on and on. So in September of last year, I said to my son, I said, let's go over to South Africa, just kind of make a exploratory trip and find out if we can get a couple bikes. So we end up right outside Joburg, and we went in a place called V Custom Cycles. Pat Draper. Pat, if you're listening, howdy, and thank you. And we met a gentleman, and he was just kind enough to give us a real good price on bikes. And so when we came back in February, we rented a couple bikes, and off we went, driving on the wrong side of the road. Almost got killed a couple of times, of course. Went down to Jan Kempdorp to see if I could find Johan, the gentleman that's in the song No More. And an interesting story. You know why you and I know why when they did D-Day, there was no one over 21 years of age in D-Day, except for the sergeants and except for the officers, the veterans, but no one else, because they knew that they were going to say to a bunch of veterans, attack this shore, and they were going to say, okay, okay, we're not going to attack those, so the young men were slaughtered because they thought they were invincible, on D-Day, the D-Day invasion. So of course my son thinks he's invincible. So we're riding along on the way back. We've been to Jan Kempdorp, and we're on the way back to Pretoria, and I'm not paying attention. And usually here in the States, we'll have the sign that says four-way stop coming up, anything like that. We came over a hill, there was no sign four-way stop. And I blew in, I stopped right in the middle of the four-way stop. And there was a car here, a car there, and a car in front of me. Well, my son blows completely through the stop at 60 miles an hour. Ooh. And right over to my right were two police officers, two Afrikaner police officers sitting in their car. So I just pulled through the stop sign and pulled over to the left and stopped. And my son kept going. But when he saw me stop, he turned around and came back. He says, and finally when he got there, he said, they told him, you almost got killed, right? He said, well, yeah, sorry, officer. And I said, hey, well, I'm sorry. I said, we're not paying attention. We're not from here. We don't know what we're doing. And I gave him a copy of my CD. It ain't easy to kill a Boer, But we got off with a stern warning. So that was part of our adventure in South Africa. And then right when we were on our way back, the lockdown happened. Mm-hmm. And we ended up staying for 2 more months. And we had a flight going out with Qatar. We had a flight going out, was supposed to be from another embassy, and they would just keep canceling them and canceling them and canceling them. So I have a friend of mine that knows a gentleman, one of the owners of the Texans. And this is a doctor friend of mine, Dr. Bruce. And he kept calling this friend of his, and he said, look, my friend Dean is stuck in Africa with his son. And so they said, well, I know Ted Cruz. I'll get a hold of Ted Cruz. And so, of course, my friend, he said, well, if Ted Cruz cares, have him call Dean. So in the middle of the night, the phone rings, and Ted Cruz says, hello, this is Ted Cruz. He says, I heard, Dean, that you're stuck in Africa. I said, yes, sir. And he says, well, let's see what we can do. I said, well, thank you. And so I don't know whether this actually helped, but we knew that there were 18 other Americans stuck in South Africa. But by the time we got on the plane, and Pete took us to the plane. Pete, thanks for taking us to the plane. And actually Pete traveled around the United States. Him and his wife traveled almost every state in the Union on a Harley. They've been over here. So that's how I met him when I was over there. So South African Airways pulled a plane out of mothballs that they said they weren't flying anymore. And there ended up being over 300 Americans on the flight coming back.
Wow.
They were still stuck in South Africa. And do you know how that when you get on a flight and you see a baby, you just go, oh, there's a baby. I'm sitting next to a baby for 15 hours, right?
Exactly.
Well, you're not mean like, you just go, oh, no, I don't know what's going to happen. So it was so difficult to get to the embassy from all over South Africa. And then we had the consulate. We had to wait at the consulate go to the airport. The airport was like a bus station. Nothing was working. You had to carry your luggage along. The dogs sniffed all of them, and on it went. So by the time we finally got on the aircraft 12 hours later and took a 15-hour flight, I didn't hear one baby. They were just gone. The poor little things. They were goners from that whole day. So that's how I got back. And I had given the song "It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer" on WhatsApp to no more than 5 of my friends over in South Africa, people that I had met. One lady, Monica, at a squatter camp. I gave her the song, and I'd given them to a Willem Petzer. I'd given them to maybe 2 other people. And when I got back to the airport in Atlanta on our way back, I get this text message from Willem, and he says, Dean, he says, I just got your song 13 times today on my WhatsApp. 13 different people had sent it to me. So it was such a blessing to me. You know, I got on the plane back to Houston. I just started tearing up. You know, it was such a blessing to me to know that my song had actually, a song I had written for my friends, had actually touched people's lives, cheered them up, lifted them up, let them know you guys are important. You guys mean something. Don't believe all the nonsense. Don't believe all the lies. You know, when a Boer, I'm writing a song called "A Boer Makes a Plan." And, you know, I can tell you, looking back at the history and the farmers that I know, once everybody makes a plan, the rest of Africa needs to watch out, because they're making a plan. You know, when a Boer makes a plan, you know.
No doubt about it. Folks, you're watching the Saturday stream here on Chris White Africa on the Daba Africa channel. My special feature guest today on Saturday is none other than Dean Chancy, the Texan who sings about South Africa and about the Boer and Afrikaner. Interesting music, fantastic. And listen, Dean, you know, music is, I don't know if, I think artists appreciate it, but I'm not entirely sure they appreciate it fully. Music really can move people, you know, especially for those who have no talent whatsoever. We can really be influenced by music. I was talking to Monty Jackson about that. He was looking at my resume and he's like, wow, you've done so many things. I'm just a singer. I'm like, dude, you're not just a singer. Your music moves people. It inspires people. It lifts people's mood up. I told him, I said the other day, I said, I was really in a foul mood about this stolen election, about the fraud that's going on and the media cover up. Here in Pennsylvania, I'm talking about the whole country. I'm just talking about Pennsylvania, where I don't need witnesses. I can point to public statements by public officials in which they announce they're going to violate the law. Anyway, so I was very angry about it. And I just, in the background, while I was doing some research, I put on Corona 5, the concert, the medley, the finale. And I just suddenly, that's when I sent you a note. I said, hey, do you mind if I use your song for background? I was just going to do a video and just, you know, talk about, you know, hey, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. That's the power of music. I was really unhappy and angry at that point, late at night. And that music just really brought me up. But let me do a little bit of housekeeping before we continue here. So Charles Argo, number 2, said Shania Twain's ex-husband was South African. Yeah, he is. But he's from Northern Rhodesia, born in Zambia in 1948, Mutt Lang. And yes, but he is South Africa, quite a famed music producer, well-known. Renaud Khan says, Dean's songs makes the lump in my throat spill over into my eyes and overflow. Well, that's an interesting description, Renaud.
Nice. Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
And then Eric has said, stunning. I learned to ride, talking about your motorcycle, I learned to ride choppers. They're my size. Yeah, I think that's fake news, Erica. I suspect that you can't see over the handlebars. Eric is famously kind of short, so I'm just saying.
Well,
What's that?
They ride low. She could see over them.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying. Anyway, and then somebody, what's this? MF says, I love the song When Smoke Gets in My Eye. It was in a movie about firefighters. I'm not familiar with that one. And then Steve E says that I did Army camp in Jan Kempdorp. Guard duty at the ammo dump, 1 month solid. Well, that sucks for you, Steve. I wouldn't want to pull guard duty at ammo dump for a month. that had to be crappy. That reminds me of being a private first class on Winter Reforger in January 1985. On a 2-hour guard shift, I spent 14 hours because I was never relieved. Nearly froze to death. I had my Mickey Mouse boots on, my pile cap over my ears. My hands were so cold. My ears were so cold. That M16 was so cold. Miserable stuff. Yeah, pulling guard duty when they forget about you. Not a good thing. So, Dean, it's Conscious Caracal did tune into the channel. He had a comment a little bit ago. Ernst van Zyl, who, of course, is responsible for getting you on the channel because he kept pestering me to get you on the channel.
Thank you, Ernst. Thank you.
But he said you need to get back to South Africa. Well, I think there's a lot of that going around. But you can't get a negative COVID test and arrive within 72 hours. Trust me. I just tried to do it to go to Ghana this weekend. Impossible. So we'll have to wait until they sort that out. Once they sort that out, maybe change that standard, or maybe if once they have this so-called vaccination going and people get it, maybe that'll be sufficient to let people travel. I don't know. But they're going to have to change things. Otherwise, South Africa's tourism industry will continue its death spiral.
Colonel, one thing that, those of us that have been in the Army or any military service that we know is the best officers, the officers that are the hardest to put up with are the ROTC, the ROTC officers, the weekend warriors, that become officers and decide they want to join the Army. Okay, so those, of course, I was a grunt, right? So I was a 11B, 4P, so I'm in the infantry, right? I'm what everybody says they are when they get out, but nobody wants to be when they go in, They all say they were Rangers and they all say they were airborne, and they were all just cooks, since only 10% of only 10% of the Army is actually infantry and actually goes out and does the nasty stuff, and everything else, I guess, 90% is support. But so I had all the officers. I had the West Point officer, kind of a stuffed shirt, not bad. But the best officers were always, I don't want to blow a little smoke up your butt, but were always the officers that had been the enlisted man first and then the officer later, because they always understood what we were going through. I was so impressed with and sad that General Kelly didn't last, with Trump, because he had started out as an NCO. I don't know if I'm sure you know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he started out as an NCO and became a general and a 4-star general. That's crazy good. So.
No, absolutely. Well, see, my view on it's a little different, Dean, in that I'm one of those guys that actually did go to ROTC. But I've been enlisted prior. Yeah.
But you're an enlisted man first, and that's the part that.
Well, I got you. And actually, there's a nickname for that. They call officers like that Mustangs. Those who are enlisted that become officers are known as Mustangs. For me, of course, I've had the experience of being a junior enlisted, having been a non-commissioned officer, having been a commissioned officer, and risen to the rank of colonel, which is pretty far up there. So I've been across all the different levels you could be, other than being a warrant officer. And for me, it really has a lot to do with who the individual is. I mean, there are certain stereotypes and certain things are generally true, but I've seen some of the best officers I've ever met who were officer candidate school graduates, who were ROTC graduates, and who were West Pointers, and even some direct commission officers in some of the specialties who were just great leaders and just had the innate ability. But the thing is, you can always find a few Alexander the Greats in every cohort, a small number of people that just get it no matter what they do. But you're right about people lose sight of armies. Only about 25% of the Army are actually combat arms. That includes 25. Armor and the combat engineers and the infantry and special forces. The rest of it are people who do other things to support it. And it is interesting to hear. It's kind of like sometimes you see people who make the claim, kind of like the MK veterans in South Africa, Mkhonto we Sizwe. Oh, we were fighters. No, you weren't. There were only about 2,500 of you that actually ever did any fighting in Angola. The rest of you just joined, and because you had a card doesn't make you a warrior. It's the same sort of thing. So it's just, that's people try to take that false glory and try to take this stuff. Now, Daniel Prinsloo asked me a question, what's my take on H.R. McMaster? Well, I had a fair amount of respect for H.R. McMaster. He was well known for some of his writings and for his position. He's very fortunate to ever even become a general. He did some things where he really stepped on his crank a couple of times, and in normal circumstances would never have become a flag officer. But he was very fortunate that he got picked up, and then he was kind of lingering as a flag officer, and the Trump came in, and he got elevated again. And then the problem I have with H.R. McMaster is I think that his comments on leaving his position were kind of disloyal. And I have a serious problem with that because you may disagree with the president, but it's not your position to go out there and undermine the president by, running around like these jackasses like Ambassador Bolton, who is just disgraceful and shameful. And that's this horrific conduct by Ambassador Bolton in his effort to influence an election because of his ego. He was another one of these neocons that just wanted to get us in war after war after war. Donald Trump didn't want us in war after war after war. Whether Donald Trump is right or not really isn't germane. He's the president of the United States. He sets a foreign policy. It's legal. Suck it up, Buttercup, and do your damn job. And that's the same thing I would say to General McMaster. He should have sucked it up, Buttercup, and moved on. I will say this, his national security strategy, for which he's the major author, at least he's got the credit for it. I don't know how many lieutenant colonels, and senior NCOs actually wrote it, because they were writing it, not just McMaster. But that national security strategy, the one that the Trump administration issued is a pretty good one and serves our country well. But if we change administrations, it'll probably throw in the trash, because now our future will be bending over and bowing before the masters of the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing under Sleepy Joe, Creepy Joe, Jim Crow Joe. We're going to be doing what the Chinese tell us to do. So that won't go out the window. But H.R. McMaster, a lot of respect until he was disloyal. That's not how you do business. That's not how you do business. Anyway, sorry about that, Dean. That was a good question. I just wanted to get to it.
You made a good point, because my experience was only 3 years, so I'm in during the Vietnam War, right? Everybody hates us. Everybody wants to beat us up. Everybody, everywhere we go, they do everything to spit on us, right? So, and my experience was only with the officers in my infantry platoon. I was in the 2nd of the 504 and the 82nd. So my experience was just with the one West Point lieutenant, and they're all butter bars leading the platoon, right? So they're poor guys that have, I guess looking back, their first time, doing anything, right out of West Point, right out of but the best ones were, and then of course I had the one that had been ROTC, but he had just gotten out of college, and there he came, I'm going to lead a platoon of all of us. The reason we're infantry is because we're a little rough, so he's trying to lead us. But the lieutenant that I had that was the best had been an NCO first, but I still only saw those 3 years of lieutenants and captains. So no, you make a good point. I did watch your program the other day when you had Steve Hoffmeyer. Yeah. And he started. I noticed he started calling you Colonel too. Because it's just a hard. Nobody wants to get an Article 15. Even so many years later. But I will mention something else about Steve, since I'm. Some of the people have asked me when I'm going to come over to South Africa and sing. My plans are, if like the Colonel said, if I can get the virus certificate, figured out, I plan on coming over at the end of January, beginning of February, and an agent, a friend of mine in South Africa, he actually got a hold of Steve's agent, and he said, the agent said, "Oh yeah, we know about Dean. Tell him to get in touch with us when he gets over there, and let him come sing a song with Steve." So that should be a lot of fun. Someone told me an interesting story about Steve Hoffmeyer. Lady, when I was over there during the pandemic, she said, I used to rent out venues to all the different stars in South Africa. And she said during the concert, she was in concert business. She said, and out of all of them, she said that the one that was a genuinely nice person was Steve Hoffmeyer. So I hope to be able to sing a song with him. I know I've watched him whenever I can watch him in an English interview. I try to tune in because he does a lot of interviews, but most of them are in Afrikaans. Mm-hmm. So I hope to be able to do that when I get over there, and I'll just keep anybody that's interested updated on Facebook.
In the meantime, let's get you linked with Johan Eisold about putting a video to your song. He's very talented. You see Giselle's music videos, very well, good producer of those. But I will say you're going to have to wait till, Johan, till you get back to Pretoria, because your setup in Namibia sucks. I'm still waiting for Giselle's concert. I feel like Lucy pulling the football out from Charlie Brown. Every time I promise Giselle's concert, I have to whip it out the last second. But I'm just joking, but he'll do that once he gets back. We'll get you in touch with Johan, and maybe we can get that produced and actually put some footage with you singing with South Africa scenery and maybe some historic stuff in the background. That'd be pretty cool to see.
That would be very nice.
That'd be awesome. Now, a final question, and then we're going to ask you to sing Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer. But this is from Erica. Erica says, how do you feel about well, she says shenanigans in USA elections, but do you have any thoughts about the 2020 election, Dean?
Colonel, I'll just let you speak for me when it comes to that, and they can just listen to your channel. Oh, I have lots of thoughts on it.
Okay. Well, there you go. Smart move. Musician not damaging his musical future by getting involved in a political discussion. Well said.
If I could just give a shout out to a couple of folks.
Please do.
A thanks to Dion and Janine and Michelle and Hank for listening to my songs and kind of giving them a preview before I put them on any of the albums, and and to Ernst for getting me on your show and for letting me be on his, and of course Willem and then MD Grayling. Do you have time for one more quick story?
Sure, we do. But before you go there, yes, thanks to Aaron's for pestering me to get you on the channel. But he keeps telling me I'm coming on his channel, but it hasn't happened yet.
No, he's going to do it. If Ernst says that he's going to do it. So the couple days before I left after lockdown, when the lockdown was still going on, and I found out we could get out on a plane, I had a copy of my CD, and so I said, "Where am I going to go? I want maybe someone else to hear it." And so I showed up at FM Pretoria's big, nice building, and I had to push the button at the bottom. Of course, no one was there. It's lockdown. And this lady answered the phone and answered the intercom, and she said yes. And I said, "I have a CD. I'm from Texas, and I just wanted to give you a CD to see if you wanted to, maybe play it." And she said, well, we're closed. And I said, "Okay, thank you." And she said, "Well, do you have the CD with you?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "Well, come on up." So she buzzed me up, and I went up, and she was the receptionist. And I could hear folks in the back talking, but she asked them if they wanted to come up and take my CD, and no one did, because they figured some crazy Americans up front trying to give a CD away with country music, like what you were talking. My dog is dead, and I'm so sad I'm going to kill myself. So no one came up front. And so I dropped the CD off, and I get a call a couple of days later from MD Grayling, and he did a little streaming interview. And I just wanted to say thanks, MD, for playing the music for no one else, and Wood and Willem, thank you, and to my friends that put me up, Pete, in outside of Joburg, and Pete down in Jan Kempdorp, and Esme, and just everyone else. If I forgot any of you, I'm sorry. And all my new friends that I've met, I just want to say thank you.
That's awesome, Dean. Very kind of you. I mean, listen, I've got to say this. I've never been to Jan Kempdorp, but if it involves me pulling guard duty and ammo dump, I'm never going. I'm just saying up front. Just saying. But lots of people say nice things coming in here. A couple comments about Steve Hofmeyer. Yeah, Steve Hofmeyer is a brilliant oak. He's a great guy. He's a gentleman. He's a big-time artist in South Africa, a big-time actor known for years. I asked him to come on my channel in less than 24 hours after his agent gave him the message. He responded. He said, "No conditions. You can ask me whatever you want." And we did a 2-hour stream. It was absolutely brilliant. Please go back and look it up. Look my channel up. Do a search for Steve Hofmeyer. Watch that stream. You'll find he's an amazing guy. He'll be back on the channel at some point, but he's busy performing now, recording videos, new songs coming out. So he's been very busy with the lockdown lifted. I think a lot of Afrikaans performers are taking advantage of now because they're concerned that the ANC is going to lock them down again. So they're getting as many performances in as they can. But we'll get Steve back on the channel. All right. So with that, Dean, we'll get you to sing "It Ain't Easy to Be a Boer," and then we'll wrap up after you sing that. Is that all right?
Yeah, you're going to put it on just play it on the music? You want to just play the CD or not?
No. Can you sing? Can you see right now? Does that put you? Is it okay, or does that put you off? Or I prefer to you do it live. Why play the CD when we got you live? We can watch you. I'm going to turn my camera off so they're not paying attention to me, because I'll just be sitting there smiling, looking like a goober. I'll let you sing, and you'll be the only one on the screen. So once you're done, we'll wrap up. Okay.
All right. Thank you. On the 16th of December, 1838, 10,000 mighty warriors came to call. They said, "We done this before. You might think we're bragging, but they're just a bunch of farmers hiding behind some wagons." By the end of the day, they were singing a different tune. There were 3,000 dead, and the farmers hadn't lost a man. That's what you call blessings of the Lord, 'cause it ain't easy to kill a bull. You're like that long dirt road I trust to take me home. You're like the sun that won't quit shining, even in a storm. You're like the Drakensberg Mountains God made out of stone. You were the first tribe on this shore. and you'll be the last to go, 'cause it ain't easy to kill a bull. On the 11th of October 1899, the greatest army in the world came to call. They said this is gonna be easy, it won't take too long. We're just a bunch of farmers, what could possibly go wrong? Every farmer grabbed his rifle, climbed aboard his horse, stopped in cold Stormberg, fought for 2 years more. You can take a man's diamonds, you can take a man's gold. When you take his family, it's like you're taking his soul. That's what Queen Victoria did, so she could win a war, 'cause it ain't easy to kill a bull. You're like that long dirt road to take me home. You're like the sun that won't quit shining, even in the storm. You're like the Drakensberg Mountain God made out of stone. You were the first tribe on this shore, and you'll be the last to go, 'cause it ain't easy to kill a bull. So they can change the laws, dance that dance, sing that silly song at every chance. Better men have tried before, and it ain't easy to kill a bull. You're like that long dirt road I trust to take me home. You're like the sun that won't quit shining, even in a storm. You're like the Drakensberg Mountains God made out of stone. You were the first tribe on that shore, and you'll be the last to go, 'cause it ain't easy to kill a bull. Ain't nothing changed. It ain't easy to kill a bull.
I almost feel a nation stirring there, Dean. It's wow. It's you almost got me in tears, man. It's an incredibly powerful song. Thanks a lot for performing it. That's brilliant. Wow. What can I say? I just blabber on here. That's a really stirring song. It's beautiful, and it covers a wide swath of history. And I can almost feel a nation stirring here. What with all the different events that have been going on the past few months, the song remains timely, and I suspect it'll remain timeless. We've had the biker rally of 41,000 motorcycles. We had the car rally after that. We had the annual Witkois Monument event. We had the Black Monday March on a Sunday in Cape Town. We had the Jackals show up in their fake protest but intimidation rally at Brockenfell. Lots going on in South Africa, and the song is awesome. Suddenly, lots of comments coming here. Yeah, Sharon says, no words. MF says, wow, wow, and wow, with about a dozen exclamation points. I think people truly, truly love the song, Dean. So thanks for writing it, thanks for performing it, and thanks for coming on the channel today. But before we go, is there anything you'd like to share with folks or other than the fact you might be going to South Africa in January. So if you do get there in January, you're going to beat me because my plan is March or May for that next trip. So I'm a little envious, but there's a lot going on. So,
Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I don't want the songs to be about me. The songs are about, I know you're not doing the program for yourself. You're doing it to try to reach out and try to lift people up in your own way. And I wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Colonel, I was wondering, could we say a little prayer here?
Sure. Absolutely.
How about that?
If you want to lead us in prayer, absolutely. Go ahead.
Let's say a prayer. Jesus, sometimes I don't know why you love us, but I sure appreciate the fact that you love us and you died on the cross for us. And Lord, today, Lord, we want to say a prayer, the Colonel and I, Lord, especially for our Boer and Afrikaner friends, Lord, and everything that they're going through. And we pray, Lord, that you would just be with them, Lord, that you would guide them, that you would protect them, that you would watch over them, Lord, that you would show them the plan that you have for your country, Lord, that you would give them hope and you would give them inspiration, Lord, and that you would watch over them. And you're the one that gives us hope in our lives, Lord. So please, Lord, give us more hope. We could use it. Thank you for your mercy and your grace, and thanks for loving us. In your name, amen.
Amen. Well, that's awesome, Dean. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Oh, no, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. Any final comments or thought? I mean, I've already asked once, but one more chance after the prayer. Or it's because if you come, can you give folks an idea? Do you know where you're going to be going? Obviously, probably Jan Kempdorp, I guess you're going to. But if you go to...
Well, you don't want to miss Jan Kempdorp. I'll tell you what, it's all. I heard you the other day say what your temperature limit was. Believe me, Jan Kempdorp goes way over that.
Yeah.
My plan, as kind as Steve was to allow me to sing with him, my plans are to try to knock that out of the park first, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens after that. So, I'm just going to go along, and I'm going to trust God for today, and then I'm just going to trust him for tomorrow too.
Excellent. Well, we got 75 people watching the stream right now. Can we smash that like button as a sign of appreciation for Dean? He did like 3 or 4 songs during the stream, which was totally unexpected. And honestly, I think he made 2 of those songs up as he was sitting there. He just made them up. No, I'm kidding. But no, he sang 3 or 4 songs for us. So yeah, please smash like button, folks. Thanks a lot. Dean, I'll get back in touch with you and see if you're interested in coming on the Christmas program.
That'll be fun. Colonel, thank you.
All right, excellent. And then we'll try that. Do you know any? You must know Christmas carols. I was going to say, do you know any Christmas carol? You probably know some really good ones.
Christmas is my 2 front teeth, my 2 front teeth. I'm not quite that old yet. I have to sing that again once we go down the road here.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's funny because when you're a kid, you want those 2 front teeth, and when you're elderly, you want them back.
It's so true. So true.
All right. So there you go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dean Chancy from Texas. Thanks a lot, Dean. I appreciate it. I'll let you slide out there, and then I'll wrap up the show for today. Thanks a lot, Dean.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, folks. Dean Chancy. Let me get him off the screen there very quickly. And I'll put him into the waiting room. There you go. All right. So, whoops. Let me fix that. Hang on, folks. There we go. It's coming up. There you go. All right. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. This was epic. I really, really enjoyed the stream. I hope you did too. This is Dean Chancy and Chris White talking about South Africa. Neither of us are South Africans, but we both have an affinity for South Africa. Clearly, Dean has far more musical talent than I'll ever hope to have. Unfortunately for me, I can't sing for beans, but I can appreciate good music, and It Ain't Easy to Kill a Boer is a fantastic song, as were those other songs singing about riding pigs and such. That was kind of cool. But thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate the support for the channel, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you enjoyed it. Check out Dean's songs. Hendo has put multiple links in there. Just go to his website, save a bookmark on it, and check out his music. He's got a lot of interesting music there. Writing another album right now. You got kind of a sneak preview of one of his songs coming up on that album. So thanks a lot. Folks, if you want to tune in for the Night Owls edition of Stray Voltage coming up in about 2 hours and 6 minutes, you'll get a sneak peek at Chris in a Father Christmas, St. Nicholas, Santa Claus outfit. It has arrived, and I shall be wearing it just to try it on and see how it goes. And we will be doing a Christmas program coming up here. We'll coordinate that. Johan Eisel is going to help me with that. Maybe Dean will be there. Maybe Monty Jackson. No promises there. But definitely Giselle will be on the program. It'd be kind of cool. It'll be a family-oriented one, so your kids can watch it. No profanity. If we catch you profanity in the chat, you'll be sent packing. instantly, but we need to keep a family-friendly one here for Christmas. And so that's coming up, folks, on the channel. This week, I have Dr. Lisa Briggs, who is a colleague of mine, worked with me at U.S. Africa Command. She'll be on the channel on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Phil Craig from the Cape Independence Advocacy Group will be my guest, talking about the 5th of December, March, that's next weekend, for Cape Secession, sponsored by the Cape Independent Advocacy Group, of which Phil Craig is a leader. And I believe that the Cape Party with Jack Miller are also participating in that. So that's Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, folks, okay, so you're wondering what happened to Valerie from Black Monday yesterday? No internet. No internet. That's why she wasn't responding to calls and wasn't responding to my text messages, because she had no internet. It's back up after she harangued her ISP, her internet service provider. So she's got connection again. We are planning on Thursday, this coming Thursday, to have Valerie Butterfeld from Black Monday Organizing will be on the channel finally. That's this coming Thursday, and I'm scheduling other folks coming up after that. So there you go, folks. That's upcoming guests on the channel. Thank you for tuning in. You've been watching the Saturday stream here on Chris White Africa on the Daba Africa channel. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your support for the channel. We'll be back on here in about 2 hours. Thank you for your support, ladies and gentlemen. And my special thanks to my guest, Dean Chancy. That was awesome. Really enjoyable conversation. And as you folks, as you watch this channel, these are less interviews and more conversations. It's kind of like David Frost making somebody feel comfortable. I know that's a reference for the older crowd, but David Frost making someone feel comfortable, and less of an interview and more of a conversation, interactive one, so that we learn more about our guest. So there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. I think you learned a lot about Dean. Even got to see him on his Harley there. That was kind of interesting. Anyway, so thanks a lot, folks. God bless. We'll catch you here in about 2 hours, and thank you for your support, for your patronage, and I'd say new members and super chats, but none of those happened in the stream, so thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for the likes. Appreciate that. God bless. We'll see you in about 2 hours on Chris White Africa.